It's NFL hot stove stuff. I can't get enough of it every single day. The rumors, churning, firings, hirings, possibilities, and no better person to go over it with than our guy from ProFootballTalk.com and Football Night in America, Mike Florio, joining us live on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Good morning, Michael. How are you, sir? How's the weather in West Virginia? How's West Virginia?
It is very cold. It is very snowy, and I've just been indoors ever since I got home from Detroit. It was basically the Iditarod from the state line to my house trying to get home on Monday, and I've just stayed indoors. This is a good week to stay indoors because there's plenty of news to track, plenty of news to follow, plenty of stories to write, plenty of calls to make, plenty of stuff to discuss and analyze and just enjoy as we're in that weird spot where 18 teams are getting ready for 2025, 12 teams are getting ready to play this weekend. 2 teams get to kind of sit back and watch it all this week before they play their games next weekend.
Mike, what do you currently make of Mike McCarthy's situation? Bears interview not happening, him and Jerry sitting down, deciding what's going to happen. What do you make of where we are currently with McCarthy?
Well, I thought it was hilarious that Jerry said on Sunday, go talk. I want people who want to be here. And then when it's time to go talk, no talk. Can't go. And
Did you think they were going to let him interview?
I wasn't sure. And look, it's an indication that not that they necessarily want to keep him, but I think they want to be able to negotiate with him without McCarthy knowing what's behind door number 2. Mm-hmm. If you can't talk to the Bears or anyone else for that matter, they've still got exclusive negotiating ability. They can try to get him for the best possible contract without him knowing. And there's still ways calls can be made and winks and nods, and that happens sometimes. Some teams will do it, some teams won't. But it preserves the Cowboys' ability to have his full focus, and they have full leverage as they try to work this out. But look, whatever happens, the one thing I'm certain of, they're going to leak it and or announce it during the Eagles playoff.
Yeah, right. Mike.
Right? They did it last time with Garrett. They leaked it during the Seahawks-Eagles playoff game 5 years ago.
How is that, the Cowboys, the way they're doing it, where they're kind of leaving him in limbo, not letting him negotiate or even talk to other teams, but not also letting him know if he's actually coming back. How is that being received around the league?
Well, everybody's so focused on kind of their own stuff. I haven't heard much of a blowback, and I think most people would shrug and just say that's Jerry being Jerry, and that's the contract that's been signed, and that's what they have the power to do. At the end of the day, the Cowboys are the Cowboys, and I don't think they're going to scare anyone away from the job because of that. If you're going to be scared away, you're going to be scared away because you don't want to have to work with Jerry, and you don't want Jerry being the one picking the players. And you want to have more power than you're going to get or whatever the case may be, but it's still one of the premier franchises in all of sports. If they make a change for Mike McCarthy, there's going to be plenty of guys lining up out the door to try to get that job and not minding the possibility that 4 or 5 years from now, they'll be the ones in limbo once their contract expires and Jerry or Steven figuring out what to do next.
Mike, Rappaport said the same thing. I kind of want to pick this apart. It feels like everyone in your position, the national media types, don't want to come out and just say what I think the reality is. This may get me in trouble in Frisco right now, but I don't care. You can't win the title here. Like, you can't win big here because of Jerry Jones. But then you and others also say, I'm not criticizing you because if people would do it, that people would be lining up here to get this job. How do we weigh those two things?
Well,
do the people in league circles, is it an unspoken truth? Like, they're never going to win the title there with Jerry and the way things are run, but also it's a must-have job.
Yeah, and I think both things can be true. And it's not that they're never going to do it because of the way things are run. I think it's Jerry doesn't really prioritize it the way that he acts like he does.
Yeah.
Because if he did, they would be doing things differently. I think for him, it's about having the Cowboys perpetually and annually be America's team, the team that's the most talked about, the team that can and will drop its coaching news during a rival's playoff game, the team that can make the NFL world stand still whenever it wants to. I think he prefers that to one Super Bowl trophy. He's got his Super Bowl trophies, and I know he'd like to win a Super Bowl with a team that he built. I think he's more impressed by and protective of the fact that 30 years have gone by without going to an NFC championship, and they're still the most popular team or one of the most popular. I think the Chiefs have had something to say about that recently. But still, it's the Cowboys. That's, even you can delude yourself into all sorts of things. Coaches can convince themselves. You have a player who's been a problem everywhere he's ever been. I'm the guy who can turn him around. Quarterback who can throw an accurate pass 1 out of 10 times. I'm the guy that can make him throw it accurate 6 out of 10 times. So I'm the guy that can turn the Cowboys around. I'm the missing ingredient. I can work within the parameters that Jerry Jones has put upon the team and deliver a championship. And along the way, you're on the sideline with the headset on, not at 1 o'clock Eastern on a Sunday, delivered to 5% of the country. You're on big platform, nationally televised games. That unlocks sponsorship opportunities. That unlocks, potential to go into broadcasting at some point. That creates all sorts of positive things for a coach. Who wouldn't want to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, even knowing that your owner is working against, not toward, the goal of trying to win a championship?
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, Football Night in America here on The Fan. Huge station-wide debate, city-wide debate. Was the Bears' interest legit, and is there other legit interest? Would Mike McCarthy have a head coaching job if he left here?
Well, look, there's a chance that Don Yee, who now represents McCarthy, asked for a favor from the Bears. And I don't know which other Yee clients are in consideration for
people think that Ryan Pohl's agent is also Yee. I'll double check.
Okay, but to
That's
the
the Bears
extent
GM.
To the extent that the Bears are looking at everyone, I mean, at some point it'll be easier for the Bears to just submit a list of all the coaches in the world they haven't interviewed. They are doing a very expansive and extensive search. So that stuff happens all the time. People do favors for each other all the time, even if there isn't a common agent. It's just, we're going to have to deal with Don Yee at some point, and this is a simple thing to do, and the Cowboys are just going to say no. And we probably want to interview Mike McCarthy anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So that stuff happens. That's how the sausage gets made on a regular basis. That doesn't surprise me. But, the bottom line is the Cowboys having that contract, and that's not that there's a lot of negotiable things, because if you want to be an NFL head coach, you agree to the terms. But the contract expires January 14, and we did all the research last week. The way that the rules are, the Cowboys can squat on him until that contract expires. So they've got until January 14, and until then, teams can ask permission to talk to him, and all the Cowboys have to say is no. But it could be the other teams now are just waiting until next week. It's not like hires are going to be made by the 14th, except in New England, where all signs are pointing to Mike Vrabel. But if you're looking at a coordinator from a team that's currently in the postseason, you've got plenty of time to still look at Mike McCarthy, because you can't even talk to those guys until the 20th. And I think that's true even for the guys who get eliminated next week. You can't talk to them in person until the 20th. So McCarthy will still have time, and other teams will have time to pursue him. If this isn't done by next week, if my prediction that the news will be leaked during the Eagles playoff game is inaccurate, then there still will be plenty of time for McCarthy to move on and talk to others.
So you do think, though, that it is, he would be one of, not just with the Bears, but other teams, that he would be a sought-after candidate?
Well, why wouldn't you take a look at it? 174 and 112 is his regular season record. John Gruden's gotten some play, and he's 117 and 112 in the regular season. McCarthy's 57 games better than Gruden as a head coach. And I know the better teams, better quarterbacks, whatever. McCarthy at a minimum should get interviews. He's a proven commodity. Somebody was asking me last night, who would you hire if you were hiring a coach? And there's 3 categories that typically are pursued. Coordinators who've never been a head coach before, former fired head coaches, and college coaches. The 4th category I believe teams should pursue is contacting other franchises to see if there's a trade to be done with a proven head coach who's maybe 1 year away from being out anyway. But I would go toward someone who has proven, whether he's been fired or whether he's currently working for another team, someone who's proven he can coach at this level. And McCarthy has. He has. And he's won 1 Super Bowl. Well, that's one more than the Cowboys have won in the last 30 years. And there are plenty of teams out there that would love to be 12-5 for 3 straight years. They'd love to lose in the playoffs in the first round for 2 out of 3 years. That's far better than where they've been, and it's all relative in that regard. So I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to talk to McCarthy, because it's not like great teams are the ones looking for new coaches. It's the bad teams.
Have the Cowboys checked in on anybody else?
Well, if they have, they've kept it quiet. And, it's an awkward position. You obviously can do work like that. You can talk to people, especially people who are available. The thing is, we only know about the coaching candidates that have been requested by other teams, because there's a process where you have to put in documentation, and there's a paper trail. Like if Jerry would call Bill Belichick, there'd be no record of it.
Yeah.
If Jerry would call John Gruden, there'd be no record of it. And I'm just throwing out 2 examples of guys who are currently available. If he called Mike Vrabel and have a conversation, there's no record of it. And there's no reason for Jerry to do it until he figures out what he's going to do with Mike McCarthy. And I think he knows. He said last week the hay's in the barn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's time to go. It's time to go do whatever you do with the hay once the hay's in the barn. I don't know what you do with the hay, but it's time to go do it.
You're in West Virginia. You're supposed to know that, right?
Gotta know.
I have a barn. I don't have hay. I don't know what I would do with hay, and I don't have animals. I don't have any animals that eat the hay. Is that what the hay's for? Do the animals eat the hay, or do you sell the hay? I don't know.
Who coaches in the NFL next, Gruden or Belichick?
Oh boy. Well, Gruden's fascinating because his name had been bouncing around for the past couple of months. And there was a report last week from someone in NFL media that he's going to be a hot candidate. And, I don't know how much of this is agent pulling strings. Sometimes it's quid pro quo with agents. Sometimes it's just agent being able to BS a reporter who's naive and also ambitious and wants to put something out there and wants to make a pop.
Yeah.
I heard that Bob Lamont, who represents Gruden, is saying that Gruden's got a job in hand. Well, whoever is going to hire him is keeping their mouth quiet about it, because his name hasn't come up once. We're in day 4 now of the full-speed coaching carousel. We've heard hundreds of names, and I think it is at least 100. It's at least 75 or 100 names. We haven't heard anybody interested in Gruden. Now, again, there's not going to be a paper trail, but you would think that if Bob Lamont wants to create, buzz, that he'd get it out there if somebody wanted to interview or was talking to John Gruden. So I have a feeling it's going to be Belichick next year and not Gruden. That's my feeling. And there's a chance it's Belichick this year to the Raiders. I really do think there's a chance he would leave North Carolina. The Raiders would pay a $10 million buyout, and he would go straight to – because I think what he did, I think he panicked. I think he took the bird in the hand. He didn't have anyone who was giving him a wink-nod guarantee that they were going to hire him after the season. Not that that's a proper implementation of the hiring process. You've got to do a full search. You can't promise the job to somebody unofficially before you've even fired the coach you have. But he didn't have a clear assurance he was getting a job, so he took the job that was offered to him. And now if somebody swings around with a job offer like the Raiders, I could see him. Even though he said he's not leaving North Carolina. Nick Saban also said, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. I could see Belichick justifying a way to go back to the NFL.
Did you watch The Dynasty?
Which were the thing last year that was made that
Apple TV Patriots.
Look bad. Yeah.
I could not believe this report yesterday from Tom Pelissero for multiple reasons. One, why would the league let him go to college and pay $10 million? That's stupid. The other is, you could feel the hatred between Tom and Bill at the end. And Tom Brady, who's going to have a possible say in Vegas, now is cool to subjecting his roster and players to the verbal and psychological abuse that drove him to Tampa. This makes no sense to me.
Well, but it's effective, and they won. And Brady is now management. He's not a player anymore.
Yeah.
So if you hate it as a player, but it's effective, now you're part of management. You want that, and you want to turn this team around, and you want to change the culture, and you know what kind of a coach he is by way of preparation, game day, etc. I'm fascinated by the possibility, if this goes anywhere, that Belichick would say to Brady, hey, Tom, if I'm going to do this, you got to stop the broadcasting. I need you available to me at all times. And I don't think there's anybody on earth that could send that message to Brady other than Belichick. And maybe Brady would give up the Fox money and go all in as a Raiders owner and be available to do whatever needed to be done to help Bill Belichick do what he needs to do to turn that team around. So, I made a few phone calls last night, and I've come to the conclusion that Belichick did take what he could while he could take it. But I think at the end of the day, he'd prefer to be in the NFL with the right team, not with some crap team where they're going to micromanage him and not let him do what he wants. If he can go to the Raiders and do what he wants, run the things the way he wants to, shove Tom Telesco out the door and probably bring his consigliere Mike Lombardi with him. If he can do all that stuff, then I think he'll go do it. I think he'd be tempted to do it. The question is he willing to eat his words from last month after he took the job in North Carolina? Is he willing to take the PR hit that makes it look like he used North Carolina or he lied to people? He's out on the trail recruiting. It's a weird look for him if he does walk away. But I think it makes me, to back to your original point, I think he'll come back to the NFL next year.
Yeah.
And I think he gets back in before Gruden does.
Give us something to read while we're about to be snowed in here in DFW.
Oh, that's a good idea. You know what? I forgot about that. And I know that your snow removal process down there consists of hiding under the bed and waiting for it all to melt. I lived through that 14 years ago. All of my novels are available ebook only for 99 cents. It's my New Year's resolution. It's the first one I've made in 21 years. And for all of 2025, 99 cents, because I really don't care about, and I know when they say they don't care about the money, they care about the money. I really don't care about the money. Football has been good to me. My thing that used to be my hobby has turned out to be, a fairly, productive means of income.
Yeah, you're rich. We know. Just say it. You're rich.
You have a bar.
I don't know. It's relative to others. I don't know, but I got enough that I don't have to worry about where my next meal is going to come from, and that was always my objective when I was growing up. But for 99 cents, which is nothing, you can't buy anything for 99 cents. I want people to rediscover reading as adults because we associate reading with chore and homework. And I remember when I was a kid, you got to read this. I don't want to read it. Well, you got to read it. Well, I don't want to read it. And my mom used to try to encourage me. She had a book of O. Henry short stories. You need to read this. I don't want to read it, and I'm not going to read it. But as an adult, it's an escape from the weather, reality, whatever.
Yeah.
And, I've tried to write in a way that it's an enjoyable experience, not a chore. So it's a low-risk investment, 99 cents, father of mine, son of mine, on our way home. Thanks for the chance to spread the word. And folks out there, read for enjoyment. It's a great diversion from whatever crap it is that you're otherwise dealing with. And we're all dealing with plenty of crap all the time.
Thank you, brother. You're the best. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.